Greetings, hello and welcome back to some Long War of the Chosen class and spec guides. Or rather, this is a bit of a primer video just to establish a baseline for some guides that will be coming out over the next few days and weeks. But just so that I don't have to repeat the basics at the start of every single guide, I thought I'll make a little primer video. So everybody knows what's going to be happening. And yes, that's a silly PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be clicking through. Is this work? Maybe. Alright, so what's going to be happening? First of all, some basics first here. What I'm going to be presenting in these guides is my opinion. I'm not claiming this is the absolute truth. This is what I've been using, which has been working for me. It might not be working for you, but maybe it will. It's based on my experience with the game in my recent campaigns. So basically what I've tried, what I've tested, what worked, what didn't work. Of course, that's still limited to 2 recent playthroughs. So if 1,000 people out there play the game out at the same time, they're gonna have much more experience, much different experiences, situations, maybe different chosen with different strengths and weaknesses, etc., etc. So it's always a limited view. So take it all with a big grain of salt. That also means I'm not going to do a complete guide. There are certain specs and classes and skill combinations that I've maybe not used, and so I thought it would be not correct for me to comment on that, to present something like this just based on theory crafting. I think you can sit down, look at a talent and claim how great it is or how bad it is, but without actually having played with that talent, your opinion isn't worth much. So without like empirical evidence, I wouldn't want to do anything, any sort of guide. So some things might not be in the guide, in the class guides. Considering this is all based on my playthroughs, keep in mind that I'm playing on legend difficulty, so enemies have more hit points, enemies have more armor, which means I value perks like Shredder and maybe also any damage increasing perks more to, get the kills. I also build mostly with late game already in mind. Like, it's just a personal preference that like some people do early game builds and then like after 4 months they throw the soldier in a haven and never use them again. Like, I kind of want to have every soldier still gonna be useful in the late game. So that's kind of my approach to the whole thing. If you are interested in class guides in general, there's already something out there. So good old Jorbs made 5 years ago or 4 years ago class guides for Long War 2. I'll throw a link to the playlist into the description below. So while most of this might be a little bit outdated because of perk changes with Long War of the Chosen, if you ever find yourself with 9 hours and nothing to do, give it a watch. It's a different approach now. So he's going through all the perks for all the classes and giving each perk a score, how useful it is in an alpha strike situation, how useful it is when shit hits the fan, what he calls break. So and has that all then split up also by early, mid and late game, and basically for each class he then comes to a conclusion for one spec, which is an interesting approach, definitely. So again, as I said, it's definitely worth a watch, even though I might not agree or disagree with everything he says in these guides. But I'm taking a slightly different approach, which I'm going to get to in a second. Also keep in mind that since this guide that he did was for original Long War 2, I think not even 1.5 patch, but earlier patch, so it's slightly outdated. There are obviously no War of the Chosen hero classes in there, so just keeping it in mind, but lots of information in there. That's like 9 hours if you're really interested in this kind of stuff, worth your time. So what I will do instead of going through all the perks, I want to present 2 or 3 builds for each specific class. I want to explain what the role of that specific build is, because, you know, a death from above sharpshooter has a different role than a hollow targeting sharpshooter. So you cannot, I think, just looking at what are the best perk choices for a sharpshooter is the wrong approach, and rather what kind of role do I want to fill, and should I use a sharpshooter, should I use a ranger, should I use a gunner? This kind of approach. So then mentioning strengths and weaknesses for this specific role, this specific build, and maybe also some comments, which mission types are good, which mission types are bad. So when you create a squad for a certain mission, you will see, hey, should I actually bring this build? I'll also have a quick look at the soldier stats. So basically, when you're promoting your rookies, or when you're training in the GTS, you can already see then, based on the stats that each soldier has, what are they suited for. Like, am I gonna train this 13 mobility rookie to be a sword shinobi? Maybe not. And probably, if I can squeeze it in, some gear suggestions, like what the standard loadout is, what kind of weapon attachments you want to choose, etc. So how's that all gonna look? So this is a completely random, let's say this is the up and down assault build, where the main focus is to start and with the up perk and then go down, right? So red perks would be the primary pick, where I say this is the essential pick of the build, and sometimes I'll add some blue circles, or squares rather, with, yeah, this is a viable alternative build, but that you could also take. Like, this is of course not a real build here, I just threw something together. Then, for example, in the stats screen, I would then say, yeah, this build, you should use it if your starting rookie has at least 73 aim and 17 mobility or something like that. Finally, each build will get an officer rating. So basically, how useful is that build going to be to turn that soldier into an officer? Talking about the officer rating, for me, the most important aspect of an officer is, can he do something useful on a turn and then still command somebody else? Like, command is the defining officer ability, and it's really also the only turn-ending officer abilities. All the other stuff, like Oscar Mike, Focus Fire, Get Some, whatever, any class could use that, right? They can use that and then still have a second action to do something else. But for me, it's really a matter of how much use can they get out of the commands. That also means, are they going to be in command range? Are they going to be with the squad, within the squad, to actually command someone else? And maybe some considerations whether or not certain classes or builds are good for the lead by example officer perk. And finally, we're gonna take a quick look at the XCOM Row perks. So these are the randomized perks that you get in the XCOM Row that you then can purchase with your ability points. So just so they are like, I want to say 40 perks for each class that they can get, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a huge pool, and I'm not gonna go for every single perk. I'm just gonna pick out a few, like what to look out for, which perks might influence your decision on whether or not you want to go for build A or build B. Then also mention there are some perks in there that are just bad, that you should avoid, even though like the first impression would be, oh, that sounds awesome, and they're actually kind of trash. And then finally, if you find certain perks that might change the build you're actually going for. So yeah, so that's gonna be the stuff that's coming up in the next few videos. And I'm also I haven't produced the actual class guide videos yet. I'm gonna release one video first, wait for feedback, produce the next ones, etc. So it might change a little bit over time. Alright, so the first guide should go online by the time you've watched this. So head on over there and take a look at that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.